I have no problem with the employees here saying, what did you do last week? And if you can't come up with 5 things that you did, maybe you shouldn't be employed here. So again, this is an easy task. It happens in the private sector all the time.
Transportation Secretary Sean Duffy throwing his support behind DOGE's latest push for greater government accountability. Elon Musk now requiring federal workers to list 5 accomplishments from the past week. And if they do not respond to his email, they face losing their job. The deadline set for midnight tonight. Fox team coverage begins now with Kim Strassel on deck. But first, FBN's Hillary Vaughn live on Capitol Hill. What can you tell us about this latest attempt by DOGE to reduce waste?
Hi, John. Well, it's triggering a lot of people and it's hitting a nerve. While most Americans would love for an opportunity to brag to their boss about all the things that they got done last week, some people working for the government, paid for by taxpayers, working for taxpayers, think that they are too good for that. Democratic Senator Tina Smith attacking Musk over this, using her favorite D word, and it's not Democrat. Smith saying, quote, "This is the ultimate D-boss move from Musk, except he isn't even the boss. He's just a D." Musk says he's already received a large number of responses and says those people should be considered for a promotion. Other Democrats say a CEO would never ask their workers to do this.
Imagine that you got this email tomorrow from your boss's 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 boss, who knows nothing about what you do. This would be like Tim Cook sending that email to every single Apple Store employee. If Tim Cook did that, we would say Tim is past his due date and doesn't know how to run a company anymore.
But Musk says this is not that complicated. It's a pulse check, saying, quote, "The reason this matters is that a significant number of people who are supposed to be working for the government are doing so little work that they are not checking their email at all. In some cases, we believe non-existent people or the identities of dead people are being used to collect paychecks. In other words, there is outright fraud." Republicans say this is a great idea.
The price tag that the taxpayers pay is right at $271 billion a year. Is it too much to ask for them to verify why they're making an average salary of $106,000 a year? I guess the arrogance of the workers who says that's a heavy lift is what's wrong with that's what the Americans are sick and tired of. It's not their money. We're the ones who are paying the bills.
And so some government employee unions are so upset about this that they're actually suing over the fact that Elon Musk wants them to tell him 5 things that they did this week. They filed a lawsuit in federal court in San Francisco over this email. John.
Well, Hillary, we don't need to ask you what you did last week because it's all caught on video.
That's true. Same with you, John.
And we wouldn't need to ask because you do terrific work week in and week out. Hillary, thank you.
Oh,
Sandra?
thank you. That's nice.
All right. Thank you, John. Let's bring in Kim Strassel now, Fox News contributor and a Wall Street Journal opinion columnist. We're told that that meeting just wrapped. We'll have a play out for that shortly with President Trump saying in that meeting he thinks the DOGE email to federal workers, Kim, on their weekly duties is great. So he is standing by it and says the email was needed to find workers who are not working. Are you for this, Kim?
I think that's the important point here. Is you're listening to Elon Musk, and what we're discovering and a lot of things that he's saying is that the DOGE team is finding that a great deal of the federal government seems to be on autopilot. So it's just trundling along, and you don't really know where a lot of this money is going. And that doesn't just count for paychecks to federal employees, but how many Social Security checks are going out to people who died a long time ago? How many tax credits are being dumped into bank accounts for people that don't qualify for that money anymore or themselves have passed away? And it seems that we do not have those quality control checks going on. So that to me is the more interesting part than the substance of this, which is name 5 things. By the way, I can name 5 things I did this morning, but that shouldn't be a tough lift. I think there could have been some more coordination that probably would have been useful so that everyone on the Trump team was on the same page on this, but it does seem like a worthy exercise.
Fair enough. I want to put up part of your Wall Street Journal column, a quote here on Trump's constitutional cleanup. You say the administration is courting lawsuits that could dismantle the Washington machine. These moves are unconventional. Most presidents roll with the bureaucracy they are given, but hardly lawless. Progressive litigators may soon discover presidents have a lot of authority to manage employees and programs. Seems Sean Duffy at the Transportation Department is leading by example. He put out a tweet indicating 5 things he did this last week. He said, "Mr. President, here's the 5 things hearings that terminated the NYC elitist anti-worker congestion pricing, launched an investigation into multi-billion-dollar taxpayer dollars wasted on high-speed rail. He goes on to make his list, but we know that not everyone is joining in that capacity. Case in point, Kash Patel at the FBI and the Defense Department are saying that they are going to conduct their own evaluations. Does that in any way show you that they're split in how to handle this, or are they backing up the president in just a different way?
Yeah, look, they're backing up the president in a different way. And this was my point about miscommunication. I think you could have just as easily done this DOGE effort of the 5 things while also having consulted with cabinet heads to do it in a way where they felt comfortable that any information that was being sent, that there wasn't classified information or sensitive information that was ending up with the wrong people. And that's a legitimate concern. And I think these are some teething problems that we're going to see in the beginning of DOGE's efforts, which is it is this outside entity. You need that kind of distance, I think, away from some of these cabinet heads. But I think in some great big capacity, there has to be a little bit more coordination about how some of this rolls out.
Meanwhile, this is the take of one member of Congress, Democrat Amy Klobuchar. She went on The View earlier today, and she said this, she believes, is the real motivation behind DOGE. Listen.
He and Elon Musk, they're looking for money everywhere.
Yes.
And they are literally, costs are going up for you while they're giving the tax cuts to the rich friends.
Corporate profits.
And they're looking for money to do that. If any worker right now is failing their probationary period in the United States government, it is Elon Musk.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
that's the guy.
Yeah.
Because what he is doing as an unelected
It's probably unconstitutional.
billionaire is, yes, and that's why you're seeing all these lawsuits.
Yeah.
Reaction to that, Kim?
Yeah, they're certainly trying to find money, Sandra, but part of it is to pay for the $36 trillion in debt, a bunch of which came from Democrats spending through the roof over the past 4 years. There's a lot of good benefits this money can go to, rebuilding our military, et cetera. There are other priorities. To suggest that it's going simply to the rich there's no evidence of that, and there's certainly no policy in place for that to be the case.
Just want to end with what is coming out of this meeting. Again, we're going to have tape playback here for our viewers in a moment. On Ukraine, the president just said NATO is a good thing if done properly. He says they could end the war in Ukraine within weeks. On a Russia-Putin meeting, he said he would be willing to go to Moscow at an appropriate time, Kim. He says May 9 might be a little soon for a Moscow visit. Does not see the problem with sending European troops as peacemakers in Ukraine. And Macron weighed in saying we're ready to provide security guarantees to Ukraine. We have to make sure we have deterrence. This was Mike Waltz this morning on expectations from Ukraine on a potential deal to end this war. Listen.
We expect the Ukrainians to realize the opportunity that this is, and President Zelensky to realize the opportunity that this is, to be co-invested with the United States of America in the future of Ukraine, in the future of its economy, and growing the pie in terms of its natural resources that not only helps Ukraine, but recoups these hundreds of billions of dollars for the Ukrainian people and for the American taxpayer going forward.
That was the National Security Advisor, Waltz. We're going to hear from President Trump and President Macron in their own words in just a moment. Final thoughts on that, Kim?
Well, you know, this is going to be Ukraine's decision as to what it feels comfortable with. And we've got a great editorial in our paper today about Russia's long list of lies and broken promises to Ukraine over the years. So there is going to have to be some reassurances there. Whether or not a rare earth minerals deal and economic cooperation is enough to reassure them, I think that's left to be seen. But I think this is why Macron's visit is important, to remember NATO's role here and remind the President of the United States about the greater stakes for all of Europe if Russia is left emboldened here.
All right, Kim, really appreciate you joining us on all of that. Thank you, and good to see you.